This episode discusses historical disease outbreaks, quarantine practices, mass illness, and death, including how communities responded during epidemics. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, I'm Lady Saelym.
And I'm Madam Omen.
Join us as we dive deeper into Galveston's history. Pirates and storms, true crime and tragedy.
And the lore and legends that were born from it.
We're not here to tell ghost stories. We're here to uncover where they started.
And what never fully let go. And who stayed behind.
Beyond the past, because history doesn't rest, and neither should you. Hello, Madam Omen. I am dying to hear all about Lucy.
Oh my gosh, we got a new puppy. It took 5 minutes to decide. I wasn't even planning on getting a dog that day. I got a text message from a coworker of mine, and she sent a picture of this beautiful 4-month-old German Shepherd girl. And I asked my husband, I said, should we? Yeah, we should. So,
my gosh, I had an exciting week myself. I had reached out to several tour companies, just trying to get myself a little bit more exposure. And I texted one of our local ones, not expecting to hear back. And I actually heard back that day. The next day, I was in a meeting and doing some follow-alongs. The next day I spent practicing, and the very next day I started. So yeah, I'm now a part of a local tour company, which I'll talk about later. Anyway, ever since our last episode on the Forgotten Cemeteries, I can't seem to walk around without thinking about what is underneath me. And I knew it was there, but now that we're studying so in depth, I just cannot stop imagining the layers that are beneath my feet.
I like what you said last week. We are literally history underfoot. I really liked that.
Yes, it is history underfoot here. Exactly.
And now I've been reading all of these old quarantine logs to add to that time period. I mean, how did people live with that constant uncertainty? So it lingers because it flips what we think about graves, and they're supposed to be the end, but Galveston storms and disease just turned them into a whole other chapter.
Exactly. And I think that's what hits the hardest is not the big disasters themselves, but how routine everything just became. Moving bodies, quarantining ships, like paperwork for the apocalypse.
I mean, routine is the scary part. It's the new normal. I mean, it normalized horror. These are horrific events. And honestly, this episode feels like a prequel to last week, focusing on prevention before the fallout. But spoiler alert, prevention did not always work.
Okay, Madam Omen, are you ready to roll?
I'm ready when you are. We're diving into systems that Galveston forged against invisible killers, not hysteria. These were very real threats that required calculated responses, born from fear and incomplete knowledge. It's a gritty history, and it still echoes today.
And quarantine wasn't exile in the dark. It was holding danger in plain view, while life on shore marched by. Hi, I'm Lady Saelym.
And I'm Madam Omen.
Join us in an era where unseen threats arrived by sea and tested a city's resolve.
This is Beyond the Past.
Tonight, we discuss Held Offshore, Galveston's invisible passenger. Tonight, we're joined by Lord Michaelson, who's going to add a little bit of educational tidbits to our conversation.
From its earliest days, Galveston was a city glued to the horizon. Ships meant everything: trade, immigrants, growth. But by the late 1830s, they also meant dread.
The first big punch came in 1839, just as the Republic of Texas was finding its footing.
Historical estimates suggest that the 1839 yellow fever outbreak killed somewhere between 250 and 300 people, in a city whose population may have ranged from roughly 1,000 to 2,000 at the time. Even by conservative counts, it was a devastating loss.
Dr. Ashbel Smith, Yale-trained, fresh from Paris, treated patients, performed autopsies, and wrote the first medical report on yellow fever in Texas.
Smith argued that yellow fever was not directly contagious. Later retellings claim that he even tasted the so-called black vomit to demonstrate this belief, a story often repeated, though not firmly documented in surviving medical records.
Now, Smith argued against the strict quarantines, saying that they weren't necessary because it wasn't transferred person to person, while everyone else was screaming that the quarantines were needed.
Without knowledge of mosquito transmission, not proven until 1900, much of this debate unfolded in scientific darkness, with physicians working from observation rather than certainty.
And it didn't stop there. In 1844, the fever hit harder and wiped out a third of the population.
Some contemporary accounts and later historians suggest mortality during the 1844 outbreak was extraordinarily high, possibly approaching 1/3 of the population, though exact figures remain uncertain and vary by source.
Then, reoccurring waves happened. 1847 was smaller, but it was still scary. The newspapers tracked the outbreaks in Havana, New Orleans, Mobile, and Galveston's officials knew the patterns. Ships from infected ports brought trouble.
Modern understanding suggests shipboard conditions, stagnant water, crowded quarters, and unsanitary holds created environments favorable for disease transmission, though this would not have been recognized at the time.
The mid-19th century, cholera was rippling around the globe in deadly waves, and smallpox outbreaks still flared up everywhere from Europe to America. Doctors had no idea what was causing them. Every disease was a mystery. But yellow fever, that was the real monster. They feared yellow fever the most because it brought on a sudden fever, agonizing aches, jaundice, and black vomit. I mean, how scary. Seeing that for the first time. Someone could be healthy one morning and dead within days.
Yeah. In my opinion, this era built Galveston's paranoia, but it also built its resilience. So they acted on hunches because waiting meant graves.
So shortly after its establishment in 1839, Galveston actually became a major economic hub and the key gateway for trade in the Republic of Texas.
Now, railroad construction didn't begin until the 1850s to 1870s.
Until then, everything that was coming from the Gulf Coast had to move by ship to the port, then by wagon or horse inland.
So they formalized defenses. In 1839, Texas saw its first maritime quarantine rules during the Republic era.
Early quarantine efforts existed before this, but by 1839, Galveston began implementing more organized maritime quarantine measures, marking a shift towards formalized disease control rather than ad hoc responses.
And by 1853, after hearing the horror of New Orleans, voters funded Texas's first dedicated quarantine station on the island, just on the eastern tip.
The 1853 station was among the earliest purpose-built quarantine facilities in Texas, representing a major investment in public health infrastructure for the port.
Regulations were being put in place, and health officers would row out to the incoming vessels, board them, examine the crew and the passengers for signs of fever and other illnesses. They checked the living quarters and cargo, and they often fumigated with sulfurous disinfectants before allowing the ship closer to the shore. Now, if a vessel passed inspection, all good. It was allowed to dock, but if it was suspected of carrying disease, especially yellow fever, it was detained offshore and sometimes for several weeks or until authorities were satisfied that it posed no risk.
And now, we kind of go back to COVID because this is our own experience. And I remember how many people were so excited about, oh, we get to stay home for 2 weeks. And 3 days later, they're clawing at the door. Just, I want to go outside and be with people. So imagine these passengers are stuck on these ships. They are enduring boredom, short rations, and resentment because not only are they stuck there, but they could see the lights of the cities twinkling and the life continuing without them. And businesses also, they were enraged that their precious cargo for their commerce is sitting offshore and they can't get to it.
Now, the 1850s did set the template. Ships held offshore, crews examined, cargo fumigated, control the harbor, control the risk. And Galveston did build its first quarantine station in 1853, and by 1870, an even larger station was established. But as things go in Galveston, nature had other plans.
Storm damage repeatedly affected quarantine facilities during this period, though records differ on which structures were destroyed outright versus rendered unusable by hurricanes in the 1870s.
And so the state stepped in next and erected a few new facilities in the late 1870s and 1880s. And each station was different. Each was rebuilt or replaced, but the principle never wavered. Keep the unseen danger at bay and keep the city breathing.
Invisibility could be seen as weaponized. Anchored ships as warnings, everyone knew the drill.
For sure. I mean, imagine the anxiety that was felt here. Ships dotted the bay. It's a silent spectacle. People can look out there and just think that's your fate if infected. And it's that lingering feeling of dread. Eventually, because you have to keep in mind this is taking place over years now. It just became the new normal.
Yeah, and it bred compliance without constant enforcement. Now, later on inland, you would start to see what they called shotgun quarantines, armed guards blocking roads, even trains coming out of fever cities. But for now, being held offshore in isolation seemed to do the trick.
Yeah, and I mean, it lulled them too. Watch the water, we're safe, like a false sense of security.
And all this watching built confidence until it shattered.
Right, because no system catches everything.
They stared down the sea, held threats at anchor, built stations and rules, and it worked most years.
But when the fever slipped past anyway, the gaze turned inward. The city quarantined itself, and death moved faster than anyone could bury it.
Next week, we explore what happened when Galveston's invisible passenger finally came ashore and the desperate measures that followed. This has been Beyond the Past.
Because history doesn't rest, and neither should you. Hey, Saelym, I'm really excited about next week's episode, but I'm also curious about something you mentioned earlier. You said something about a new tour company?
Oh yeah, Omen. I have been lucky enough to join Historic Galveston Ghost Tours. They have such an awesome team and such a variety of tours. They're all walking tours, and there's everything from history to ghost tours to cemeteries, architecture, and even some haunted homes. I thought I had a lot to learn before. Well, I haven't even scratched the surface.
That is going to be awesome.
It really is. And you know what? The owner and the team that I've met so far, they are just amazing people, and they seem like they love the island as much as I do. So if we have any listeners who are going to be visiting Galveston, hey, why don't you check it out and book yourself a tour? If you use the coupon code BEYONDTHEPAST, all one word, you'll receive $5 off the ticket price. check out historicgalvestonghosttours.com, and I'll drop that link in the description below. And maybe, just maybe, if you're lucky enough, you'll get a tour with me, Lady Saelym.
How exciting!
If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss a single episode.
And follow us on Facebook at Beyond the Past Galveston Podcast.
Because history doesn't rest.
And neither should you.